How's everybody doing?
We're good. Tuesdays and Thursdays with us, and all the time at stltoday.com. Before we get into this Greitens inquiry, you have any thoughts on this new effort for bipartisanship and this new effort to tone down the political rhetoric from Washington?
Well, every time something like this happens, some sort of a shooting that has a political connection, both in terms of the target and in this case, the shooter's own anti-Trump rhetoric, from the left of the extreme. There are various calls. I will make one in my column that I'll post later today and online at stltoday.com that basically say, hey, come on, folks, we've gotten so divided. Can we tone down the language? Can we watch the way we speak to each other? Can we learn to compromise? And I mean, I remember Jack Danforth at the funeral of Tom Schweik, which was a different situation, but involved some of the same sort of, angry political rhetoric, saying words matter. And people seemed to react to that for a period of time. But it didn't take long before we went right back to the same old division. And, I spent too much time on social media. There was already, so much anger on social media yesterday. The people at the extremes trying to take advantage of the situation and use it to their advantage rather than recognizing what we have right now. We have a volatile country with a lot of political division and a lot of guns and a lot of anger, and it's a problem. And we as a nation have to figure out a way back to the middle. And I don't know what that solution is, but I believe this shooting highlights it, and, we are lucky to be in a situation where, other than the shooter, nobody died.
Yeah. Senator Danforth was criticized in some circles for that eulogy. It wasn't a eulogy, for that sermon that he gave at Tom Schweik's funeral, but that's for another day. Let's get to this formal inquiry from a bipartisan group of state senators into Governor Greitens. What's going on here?
Well, you talk about bipartisanship. This is true bipartisanship. 5 senators, 4 of whom are Republicans, have filed a resolution in the state Senate calling on the legislative body to investigate the ethics of Governor Greitens. And the resolution points out that which a lot of your listeners already know, that the governor has already admitted to an ethics violation and had to pay a fine through the Missouri Ethics Commission over his campaign obtaining a donor list from the Mission Continues, the nonprofit that he used to run. And that inquiry, that controversy over that list isn't over yet, because as the Kansas City Star pointed out in a story this week, there's really only 2 options, and both of them are crimes. Either the nonprofit gave them the list, which violates federal nonprofit law, and the nonprofit says over and over again, we did not do that, or somebody, probably in the Greitens campaign, obtained that list, took that list, and that is a crime. You can't just take it. And so there's still no admission from the Greitens campaign of what happened, only an admission that they broke ethics laws. And so 4 Republican senators, Doug Livela, Ryan Silvey, Rob Schaaf, and Bob Dixon from Springfield, all conservative Republicans, have joined on to Jason Holzman, a Democrat from Kansas City, and saying, we need to investigate this in the Senate. Now, in the current makeup of the Senate, I don't think they probably will. I don't think that's a fight that the entire Senate wants to take with their governor, but this is a governor who said he was going to be the ethics guy, and he has an ethics problem, and it's not just related to this list. It's related to the dark money in his committee, A New Missouri, that sometimes looks like a campaign committee and sometimes looks like something else. And it's not going to go away. When you have such a bipartisan group challenging the governor on the very thing he ran on this problem isn't going to go away, and the governor can't just call it a temper tantrum as his spokesman did yesterday. It's more than that. There's a lot of smoke, and there's probably fire.
Tony, how does this work? We're much more familiar with this on a national level than we are here in a state level. I mean, does the Senate have their own ethics investigation? Do they call people? Are there hearings? Do they have subpoena power? How does all that work?
Yes, all of those things are true if the Senate chooses to do it. The Senate doesn't hardly ever. I'm not sure if the Missouri Senate has ever investigated one of its own or investigated a governor at this level. And I don't think the leadership of the Senate is going to have the courage to do it. So I don't think the resolution is going to get the votes to pass. But I think it's a big deal, and I don't think it's going to go away. The senators who signed on to that aren't just going to back down and say, okay, well, we're just not going to talk about this anymore. This problem is going to continue, and it's going to continue to be a headline going into next year because there's another bipartisan group trying to get an ethics reform ballot initiative on the November ballot. And so this idea of the ethics of the governor, who brought it on himself by making that his primary campaign platform and then turning it back on it completely, it's not going to go away anytime soon.
If the Senate says, sorry, we're not going to open up this investigation, what do these senators have in terms of options after that?
Well, they could file, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of them already has. I know at least one of them was working on this. They could file another Missouri Ethics Commission complaint, and the Ethics Commission will then do their own investigation into following up on the first one they did on the list. I would be shocked if there has not already been filed or there will not be filed an ethics complaint on how the governor has been using his dark money committee during these calls for a special session in which he's basically holding campaign rallies. There's clearly some coordination between the governor's office, the campaign office, and ANU Missouri, the dark money committee. There's serious questions about how that money flows back and forth. And so I think the actual Missouri Ethics Commission will probably conduct an investigation. They do their investigations in secret, but as we know, they're not afraid to find the governor guilty of violating ethics laws. And they have the ability, should they choose to send something to a prosecutor if they find the violations to be that serious.
Tony, these, as you pointed out, some of these Republicans, the two or three of them, some are very, very conservative. And so they clearly had to think through what they were about to do and the optics of it all. This clearly has this is announced sort of a war within their own party, right? I mean, this is now, it's now time to choose sides.
Absolutely. Look at the geography. Rob Schaaf is from Northwest Missouri. Bob Dixon is from Springfield, the heart of conservative Republican politics in the state. Doug Leibla is from Southeast Missouri. He's the guy that the governor attacked over the special session because Leibla fought to make sure it wasn't just an Ameren giveaway. Leibla wins. He's the one who actually ends up being the Senate sponsor of the bill that passed the special session, and he's now on the list going after the governor. And then you have, I lost the fourth temporarily. Brian Sylvie from Kansas City. So you've got a wide range of geography in Missouri, and these are not unpopular senators in their home district. This is not just a temper tantrum. I understand why the governor doesn't want to address the substance of the issue because he can't win on the substance of the issue. He has proven himself on ethics to be a grade A hypocrite. And so he's not going to argue the substance of the issue. He's going to do what he did during the editorial board meeting that he had with the Post-Dispatch in the campaign. He's just going to put his hands on his head and say, my head hurts. This is a temper tantrum. But this is a serious situation when you have 4 Republicans in the state Senate challenging the governor of their own party on ethics violations. It's not going to go away.
Tony Messenger, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist, Tuesdays and Thursdays with us, and, of course, STLtoday.com. Tony, thanks, and have a good weekend.
Good to talk to you.
All right. Stay right there. Lisa Pashota from Crime Stoppers, and then Tom Calhoun